muted, according to this. Okay, live TV, new headset. Look out. Our loyal viewers, if you're having problems with my audio, if it's too low, too high, send us a message. We're trying to get this noise canceling thing so CJ's not in an echo chamber. So it is Friday in the Riv, and welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Friday in the River. But let's begin. We got a whole bunch of stuff to talk. Paul sent out a couple of propaganda flyers that I really want to get to. But let's talk about the state. The state is in rebellion, CJ.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes, it is.
All the wokies, be careful what you wish for, because when you get it, you go, oh boy, now we know why all the wokies all are great. They're great virtue signalers, but when it hits their backyard, it's NIMBY. I don't want this in my backyard. It doesn't just happen on Martha's Vineyard. We have communities rebelling now. Our governor is she's under attack. These people are sick of it. And I just saw a big thing on New York. New York's an absolute disaster, but we'll get into that. But I know you sent me an email on it, and we've got some stuff on this. I think the people would be really happy to hear about this.
Well, I think it's interesting that all of a sudden now the governor's calling for a secret, closed-door meeting with the lieutenant governor, I guess housing people, the president of the Senate, the president of the Speaker of the House. And interestingly enough, there are House members which are proposing a bill to, oh God, I can still hear me talking, who are proposing a bill to repeal the mandatory housing act, the right to housing. And that's going to be a problem.
Well, we know that these legislators, as much as they try to pretend that they serve the people, they serve their political parties and their donator, people who donate to their campaigns. What is this little box appearing on my thing here? I've never seen this one before. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's got something to do with this new mic. I've got a little gray box, and I can't even make out what the hell it's talking about. But you guys out there listening, just tell us if there's an issue with the audio. I've got an adjustment here. But you're right. They want a closed-door meeting to see how they can because, listen, if they were camping out, what does that say? I can't read that. About an echo.
Horrible echo.
Okay, so it doesn't make any difference what mic we use.
No, it says, Chip, lower your mic to your chin a little bit so it doesn't pop whenever you talk.
Okay, how's this? Better?
Sounds much better. Much better.
Okay, viewer, does it sound better? Because I'm not really. This is a brand new setup. Yeah, see, I added something that way. My head doesn't look bare now. I've got a microphone holder on top of the head. So, yeah, okay, good. Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, we're gonna have to get used to this. This is a work in progress. But isn't it amazing how they, be careful what you wish for. New York has got, 110,000 immigrants, and the school opened, and they pushed regular school children to the back of the line. These people are unvaccinated. They're illegal. They've got all kinds of crime now. They had 41 arrests at a hotel in New York City, and now it's hit Massachusetts. But you notice that they're not camping out on Maura Healey's lawn because something would have been done a long time ago. We saw how quickly they reacted in Martha's Vineyard when they got there with all the signs, we welcome you until you get here. Then we go, oh, we don't want them in our backyard. Get them out of here. And, look, this is, and as I said, I am not anti-immigration. I am anti illegal immigration. As I said before, this country was built on immigrants. The Indians were immigrants. We didn't have Indians here. They call them Native Americans, but they came over the Great Ice Bridge when we were connected to Asia with the ice bridge. So reality is that my grandparents on both sides came in through Ellis Island at the beginning of the last century. And they had to take the crappiest jobs, but they worked and they made sure their kids had a better life. They took, America offered them a place to build a life, and they did. And their children had a better life. And then my parents gave me more opportunity, and I've given my children more opportunity, and they will give their children more opportunity. So, but this is the right way to do it. Everybody, it's like going to the supermarket and expecting you can go to the front of the line just because you're you. And look, at this country is a sovereign nation. These people say there should be no borders. That's bullshit. There are borders in every country. That's what makes countries countries. We are a sovereign nation. We're supposed to protect our borders. And we have destroyed this nation because look at it. These people, we have to be vaccinated or you can't send your kid to school. These kids are going to school. They have no idea if they've had any inoculations. They don't have any idea what third world diseases they're bringing into the classroom. But it doesn't matter. They're giving them motor scooters and everything else on our dime. They're not supposed to be here. Sad but true. If they can prove that they can get asylum, let them do it. But when they went through Ellis Island, they had an exhaustive vetting program. They had health checks. They had to show that they were going to be employed, and that's the way it is. We should track.
We should fast track them.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. There's no way to fast track 7 million people, and there was no way to fast track the immigrants that came to this country. There are people that have been waiting for years to enter this country illegally. So you're in favor of giving people whose first action is to violate the laws of this nation preferential treatment. Well, you can have that opinion, but I vehemently disagree with it. So that's fast track them for what? For not obeying our laws? Try that in Czechoslovakia. Try that in other countries that protect their borders. Go in illegally and tell them that you want to be fast tracked because the first action you ever took was violating the laws of their nation. And I don't care if Joe invited them, but this is something that this discussion is for another day. Nobody, everybody's got their opinion, and I don't. And we're seeing what this illegal immigration is doing to this country, and it is illegal. They are not undocumented. They are illegal, and we're seeing the disaster it's created in this country. We have veterans homeless. We have homeless Americans. We have people who can't afford their rents. And these people are getting $350 and $500 a night rooms. And if you don't think that's unconscionable, well, you have a right to that opinion. But I think most people agree with my position. But let's move on to Paul Coogan because he's put out a few new things.
Before we move on, one of the things that one of the Republican state representatives wants to do is to make it that anyone who needs housing is a U.S. citizen, which I agree with, because we should be giving our veterans who are homeless and our U.S. citizens who are homeless a hand up. But obviously, if you leave the country and come in illegally, you get the food stamps, you get the hotel rooms, and you get the money. And if you're an American citizen, too bad. You don't deserve anything.
No, you're right, CJ. And listen, I've always been an advocate of that. The United States of America is giving hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine. We're subsidizing their retirement systems. We're rebuilding their cities while our cities are being destroyed and people are not getting. Every American who has a mental issue should have care available. They should be being cared for. Everybody without a home in this country should have a home. When we can give away hundreds of billions of dollars to the most corrupt country in Europe and lie about how the war's going just so we can give it because Joe's got business interests there. That's unconscionable. As I said, I have very strong opinions on certain things, and this is one of them. That every American with the wealth in this country should be taken care of. That means that we should have enough jails to put in all the criminals. We should have enough mental health facilities to take care of all the people who have mental issues. And we should have a healthcare system that's accessible and the best in the world, like the congressmen and senators and presidents have. So that's the way it should be, but that's not the way. As you know, what my philosophy is when they name schools after politicians and streets after politicians. I don't believe in that. I say, and I have always said, after you name every school, every street, everything you want to name after somebody who died fighting for this country from the Revolutionary War through Afghanistan, and then you take up all the other individuals who had catastrophic losses of arms and legs and sight, and then we can hit the Medal of Honor winners. After you name everything after people who have actually given some of them the ultimate sacrifice, and others who had heinous injuries, when you name something after those people who have actually done something for this nation, wrote a check for their own life when they joined the military. And when you name everything after those heroes, then you name it after some bonus politician who speaks out of both sides of their mouth and their anal sphincter. So with that, I'm done with that. I want to get to Paul Coogan. All right. This is his new push card. First, he has a picture of him and his wife, which, as I said, there are numerous allegations that she doesn't live in Fall River. We have people that live in the area say they've never seen her there. We have people that say that they actually know that she lives in Somerset. They have a home in Somerset, too. Paul's not at that house very often either. So his first thing on this one after the picture is around the clock leadership. Well, I don't know how it can be around the clock leadership, and you can go over it point by point too. So if he's not here most of the time, because there are allegations that he's not even in the city full time. So let alone now restore a mayor with a heart. Really? Does a mayor with a heart tell somebody who lives in public housing, shut up? You don't have a right to talk because you live in public housing. Does a mayor with a heart take the tents away after he's been anointed by the Herald News? The savior of the homeless, does he take away their tents? Does he? Yeah, he's done nothing. He makes some kind of gesture and then no plan, no follow-up, no nothing. Restoring pride to Fall River, really? Is restoring pride to Fall River calling people who live in public housing basically lesser people? Saying if you don't own a home, you don't have the right to speak? Telling a homeowner that because he has a bullet hole in his house, shut up and go away? Because not every house has a bullet in it. So dismissing a property owner who pays taxes. Is that restoring pride in Fall River and fundamentally saying that the average people in Fall River he doesn't want? because he said, not me, he said high rents will be good in the long run for Fall River because it'll get basically, if you finish that thought, it's because it's going to get all the riffraff that he doesn't like, not the rich bankers and developers and lawyers out of the city. And then the best one, proven results. Results on what? Results on education, 335th. Results on fixing the police department, nothing. Results on maintaining less lawsuits. And I got something just to show you. I'm going to go back in the archives and then you can take this over, CJ, for a while. Sean Kadim a while back said in front of the council and on TV that with all the issues that Jazel had, he was a much better administrator and a much better mayor as a manager of the city. Yeah, granted, he stole from the rich, but he didn't steal from the poor and throw them out in the street. So just to show you the crime, we've got volumes of crime reports, and we were number one in crime for 2 years in a row. So here comes a picture. Get ready for it, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. There it is. There it is. Jazel Correa managed to control crime in this city. Paul Coogan's been in for 3.5 years, hasn't even come up with a plan to deal with crime. Okay, just so you don't forget. Here it comes again. I'm making one more pass. Here it is. Right there. Crime down. Yeah, get a little closer in case of the date on the Herald News. I can give you the date. This guy's been in for 3.5 years. The only plan he's got is to make his developer friends rich and give all his pals jobs. And this crap that he puts out, I don't know who his ghostwriter is, but it is about as factually accurate as the crap that Joe Biden spews about the economy. Because everybody knows 61% of the people live in paycheck to paycheck, and in Fall River, it's probably 80. So with that, CJ, I'll turn it over to you.
I don't know if I want it turned over to me. You were on a roll there.
No, look, you just.
No, I totally agree with you. And it's interesting that, that headline that Jazel held up was, crime down, when for him crime was up. But that was a different type of crime. But you brought up a good point. While Jazel stole from the rich, okay, he never stole from the poor like Paul does. Okay, Paul's abuse of the ARPA funds is stealing from the poor. It's stealing from the people of Fall River. Not using the ARPA funds even for the Bank Street Armory shows you how much he cares. He has a friend who wants that Bank Street Armory for market rate housing. His friend's going to get it one way or the other, has good cheap money, and Paul doesn't care. And it seems like what's going to happen is the city council is going to be, too bad again. And we can't have that.
No, you're right. And listen, the reality is that, as you say, he dismisses the people that he doesn't care about. Didn't he say, the people who don't agree with me can go jump in the Taunton River at one of his campaign functions? That mayor with the heart thing that he's got on this little push card there. I think it's the one. There's the little clock, full-time mayor. Then you got the little palm with holding a heart. Do people with a heart say, if you don't agree with me, go jump in the Taunton River? I don't care if you get displaced from your home. It's all BS. It's all political BS. Judge with the record. Judge his record. What plan did he have? Have we ever ever heard the facts of the Malone case? No. Have we ever heard the facts of the John Perry case? We just saw our district attorney get fined for suppressing the names of the people involved in the Anthony Harden case. We have a shadow government that works behind closed doors. There is no transparency. And I will remind everyone that Paul Coogan has never, when he ran for mayor, offered a plan for anything. All Paul Coogan ran on was, I am not Jazel Correa, and I will be transparent. And he was right. He isn't Jazel Correa. He's not even anywhere near as good at Jazel Correa at managing the city. Because I'll ask you, paraphrase something that Ronald Reagan said when he ran against Jimmy Carter, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Is the city safer now than it was 4 years ago? The answer is no. Paul, with all Jazel Correa's flaws, and he had, obviously, he screwed up big time, and he's paying the price. However, as you said, he never took from the people of Fall River. He was pretty good at administering the health care plans. I know, I dealt with them all the time. I've dealt with them all. He was pretty good at trying to maintain the taxes and the rents and being stable. And the streets were safer. It was a better city. We had no chaos. Every department in the city of Fall River is in a total state of chaos. We can't get anybody in the auditor's office. They had the job fair. It's so bad in City Hall, but now only the political ticks want to work there. Nobody else wants a job. Before, people used to be fighting for city jobs. They have to have a job fair because I've heard from very reliable sources that the morale in City Hall is disastrous. Nobody wants to work. We got all these part-timers who come in from out of town and then they're going to leave because as soon as he's gone, they're going to be gone. We've got people in charge of departments that need 3 assistants to help them run a department while they're making big money. I mean, this guy has done absolutely nothing for his entire term. So let's just judge on the plan. I'm still waiting to see what happened with all the lawsuits that were filed against Malone. We'll never know. Mr. Transparency will never say anything. And that's what he's got to run on. And I don't give a damn who the other candidates are. He's got to run on his record. He's got to run on his record. What have you done for Fall River? Is crime better? Is the police department straightened out? No. It's still a mess. It's still a mess. It was a mess when he took over. It's still a mess. Nothing's done. He's done nothing about anything. Has the school department done anything about elevating the educational level? No. Safe streets, good schools. That's what brings people to a community. And we have neither. He has done nothing. Nothing. Show me a plan. The only plan he's got is how to usurp schools and buildings from people to give to his friends. Those are the plans he has. Take that building, giving it to a developer. And by the way, CJ, I want you to weigh in. And it's you and I keep pretty good track of developers and their backgrounds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We're seeing some of these new developers being developed by people we've never heard of with really unique names like Roll the Dice LLC. And there was another one another bizarre name. I don't know where these people are coming from. I don't know whether they're fronts for somebody else or what, because I don't know. If I decided to get into the development game, I would be developing lemonade stands because I don't have that much money. I don't know how these LLCs can have enough money to enter into these multi-million-dollar developments when they had virtually no record. I tried to find some, and I know you did. So, what do you think about that?
I found that number one, the names of some of these companies is very original. It's all of these things are coming up in front of the zoning board of appeals for variances and changes to zoning and waiving parking requirements. Um, my problem is that the zoning board of appeals is destroying the neighborhoods. How can you put in 205 units and waive parking requirements? How can you do that?
Well,
There's no
especially in
parking.
that area. That you're talking about the old Duro finishing, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you. I know most of the people that are with Paul don't really know Fall River that well. They only know where they can make money. But for those of you who know a little bit about the city, you know where Globe Four Corners is,
Yeah.
and and you take you're heading south on South Main, and you take a right at Globe Four Corners. That's Globe Street, and then Globe comes to a fork. If you go to the right, you're on Chase Street. If you go to the left, you remain on Globe down to Bay. Chase goes down to Bay. Duro Finishing is the set of plants at 110 Chase Street. I know I used to go there many times to many alarms. That neighborhood is all residential, all three deckers basically. So you're going to put in 205 units and say you don't want to have to be held to the 2 per unit parking rule. So you're going to have 205 units, 410 cars. Where are you going to put them? Where are you going to put them? There's no parking on Chase Street. There's no off-street parking anywhere. It's all basically three deckers. But they don't care. Nobody cares. And, this had never happened. Everybody wants to be Newton, but it's not going to happen in Newton. Just like Bourne doesn't want the illegals, and these other communities. Taunton has already said they're going to build a state. But the reality is, in Fall River, they just indiscriminately do everything. And it's not like they haven't done it before, people. You're probably too young to remember. But they've done this before. And I know. Because I fought fires in those empty buildings that were once built as market rate housing and then remained derelict for years and had to have 1,000 fires in them before the city would finally say, take them down. That's where Stop and Shop is. That was once market rate housing. That's where that plumbing place is. There were 4 city blocks full of multiple unit affordable housings. And there were some down north too. And they're all gone. And that's what's going to happen to Fall River. Fall River will become Detroit. And so these people, just the zoning board of appeals, just, I don't know. They're not doing their job. They're supposed to look out for the people in Fall River. Listen, I live on a short street. It's basically 1 block long. But this neighborhood is fundamentally all 3 deckers, except for the last 2 houses on the street that were built when a multiple family was knocked down, and they split the lot and built 2 single families. But they were all 2 family, 3 families, some 6, couple 6s. There's virtually no parking here. There are very few of these properties that have off-street parking. I mean, there were times when you couldn't get a parking place on this street if your life depended on it. You got to park 2 blocks away. And in the winter, that's not fun. And when they put a snow ban on, it's even worse. So, I mean, this is a total disregard for the people of Fall River. So,
What's interesting is, Aaron all night has made a few comments about, look at the big cities. They don't have cars. A lot of people don't have cars in them. And there are fewer cars, and there's more scooters and bicycles and buses. People don't take the buses now in Fall River. Okay, when these people come down here from Boston or the North Shore or even the South Shore, and they come down here and live in one of those 205 units, they're going to bring their cars with them that have to be parked somewhere. Look at New York. Parking is so tight that people have to rent parking spaces in elevated garages just to have parking. And that is a premium price. Some people are paying $1,500 a month to park their car, not including their rent. Is that what you want for Fall River?
Yeah. Well, not only that, CJ, that's not doable. People in Fall River can't afford. They can barely afford to eat, afford their rent. They're not going to go out and buy motor scooters. That takes a long transition. You look at New York. You can't compare that with New York and Boston. Boston, you got people with a lot of money. They live in areas. Those little communities in Boston, they are self-sustainable. Everything's within walking distance. You can go out, do your shopping, do your stuff, and maybe drive your car only when you leave in a city. I had some friends that used to vacation when I was a kid. And most of you know my father was born and brought up in Maine, moved to Fall River when he was 18 with the family. And they, you know, when they came down here, Fall River was different. You could walk to the Pleasant Street. But we had friends that used to vacation in Maine. My father used to go back to Maine on vacation every year, and I did. I still do. My kids still do because it's kind of like a second home. And we had a couple of friends from New York City. One lived in the Bronx, one lived in Manhattan. Very well-to-do people. One guy was played actually with the Tommy Dorsey band for years. He was a professional saxophone player. Then he retired and opened up a sign business. But he had a car. He had a car. And you know what he did? Exactly what you said. He actually had to rent a parking space to keep that car there virtually all year. He probably used it 3 or 4 times a year. When he went to Maine on vacation, when he left the city to do something, to go visit somebody, but he virtually never used the car. Fall River people could get away without having a car in Fall River in the old days because the 3-deckers were all built near Stowers, Pleasant Street. People who lived in a Flint didn't need a car. You could walk there. There were 9 restaurants between Stafford Square and Bogle Hill in the Flint. You could eat, you could shop, you had the Pleasant supermarket. This is the way these cities that can survive. Like Fall River can't survive that way. It'll take us 50 years to reconfigure this city where people can live in neighborhoods again because those small businesses that you need are sustainable. See, you're another pipe dreamer. You like to dream. Yeah, these things are going to happen overnight. They don't happen overnight. It didn't take us. We didn't get this way overnight either. When we had working mills and people had set paychecks, we had plenty of businesses. When the mills left, it took time for this city to deteriorate because the people who worked in the mills were not retrained to do anything else. They had to get crap jobs. People moved out of the city. A lot of people moved out of the city because many years ago, when most of the people who now live in Somerset, Swansea, Westport, Dartmouth, or somewhere else, this is when we had city councilors bounced out. Mayors bounced out if they raised tax rates. And to get back to Paul Coogan, he has stolen from the city. He's stolen my taxes and blew them. He's not spending it on what I want. He's spending it on his friends and their pay raises. And when we get bit with all this stuff, he's going to be long gone, and people are going to be complaining. But you pipe dreamers, you got to get a dose of reality. You think you're going to wave a magic wand and you're going to turn this into Newton. It's not going to happen. They tried this crap in Detroit, but it didn't work because Detroit's different. And look what's happening in New York City now. Now they're getting overwhelmed with illegals, and they can't even, they're destroying that city, which has a pretty vibrant neighborhood structure. This city is not geared for that. And I'm tired of engaging this. This guy wants to have a show. Come on. We'll put you on a show. But don't think you're gonna run our show, okay? Because your comments are just BS. That's all they are. Come up with a plan. Tell me how you're going to make these people. You want them to ride bicycles and motor scooters? Is that your plan? Okay. You go with that plan. Let me see how many people support your plan. We're going to turn this into Paris. Why is Europe the way Europe is? Because gas was $8 a gallon in Europe in the 1960s and 70s. People in Europe use motorcycles, mopeds, bicycles. They have very, very sophisticated transit systems like the Orient Express. You can go all over Europe on an intricate train system. You can get from point A to B comfortably in Europe. But it's a different culture. Americans, whether you want to say they're spoiled or not, because of this country's wealth, became a mobile society. They need their cars. They don't need a shop around the corner. They don't need a restaurant around the corner. They're used to being able to get in their car and go wherever the hell they want. That's why it's going to take a long time because you can transition them from vehicles. But then again, that would actually take logical cognitive thinking. And people who are political don't think logically. They just pretend that they got a fix to everything, and they're going to snap their fingers, and everybody in the city is going to start riding a bike everywhere. And try that in the middle of February in New England anyway. So with that, I'm finished.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see. I want to thank Aaron All-Nighter for his comments. I aired them as often as I could. We don't mind contention. We don't mind having differences of opinion. It's always a great thing. And, we offer our show to anybody if they want to come on and be here and debate us on it. As long as you've got some decent background or information for us, we'll be more than happy to do it. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. It's going to be a little warmer still this weekend, so take it easy, hydrate well, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Monday.